special 18th birthday party for the rising young singing star Leslie Gore. The teenage strawberry blonde was honored by personalities like Dizzy Gillespie, the jazz trumpet king, and a man known by millions for his years on television, Mr. Ed Sullivan. The party was also attended by Steve Cochran and a host of recording favorites. New York parties are unique in that many seldom-seen names always appear. Here we find Jane Morgan with Peter Duchin and Johnny Carson's sidekick, Ed McMahon. Incidentally, Leslie Gore's record of It's My Party, her first major recording effort, sold over 1 million copies and was the #1 disc in the country within weeks of its release. It's always refreshing to see a young, new talent accepted in the world of the show business professionals. This party, just like most any other 18th birthday celebration, had a special cake for the celebration and the occasion. Leslie did the honors, and with the honored guests gathering round, the pert young songstress proceeded to pass around the slices. Dizzy Gillespie, by the looks of things, approves of the baking. Always one to enliven the festivities, Dizzy very nearly got to Leslie's hand. The balloons started being retrieved for souvenirs, and the evening took on a mellow glow. Ed Sullivan was honored with the last dance, and a wonderful night in the life of talented Leslie Gore becomes a memory. Head man at Ponderosa, Lorne Green. Lorne, there must be busier people than you around, but I can't think of one offhand. You've been all over the country. What have you been doing? Well, I won't ask you lately, but have you enjoyed the traveling?
Well, of course, I've always enjoyed traveling. I've had wanderlust ever since I was about 3 years old, when I began to toddle around. And I love getting from one place to another, and I love people. I love to see people and talk to people. And I guess that's one of the reasons for wanting to travel, as well as seeing other places. But we've been to Australia. We've been to Honolulu. We've been in so many different parts of the United States. I thought that I knew a little bit about the geography of the United States and a little bit about the history of the country, but it isn't really until the last 3 or 4 years that I've been able to travel around, and I found out that I knew so little, that there was so much more to know.
Well, Lorne, you covered everything, even from the Macy Day Parade, the Macy's department store parade.
Yeah.
That was quite an experience, wasn't it?
Oh, that's wonderful.
How many parades have you ever done in your life?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Broadcast them, I mean.
Broadcast them? Not too many, actually. I think only about 3 or 4. But I remember the very first time, you know, you prepare yourself for a parade and you want to get all the color and everything else. And I remember the very first time, I was in radio for 14 years, and the first time I had anything to do with a huge mass of people and things like that to broadcast about was at the Grey Cup game in Canada, which was the final, the big football game in Canada between East and West. And I was all prepared. I was doing all the color, and I was really prepared. And it was a beautiful, beautiful December, the beginning of December, and no snow had fallen. The trees were in all the different color, multi-leaf. And it was so glorious, and I was so well prepared, and I went to bed knowing that tomorrow I was going to do a great job, and I woke up, and there'd been a blizzard overnight, and everything was white, and I had nothing to talk about.
When you talk about parades, I remember the first parade I ever did, there must have been 1,500 horses. And after you have described 12 horses, what are you going to say about the others?
What do you say? Yeah, I know.
I got a big kick out of it. I thought you did a great job. And I'm sure you get the question, too, when all this traveling you're doing, who's watching the Ponderosa? Is this a real thing?
The Ponderosa? I tell you, it's become kind of real to me. Actually, the Ponderosa is the largest mythical ranch in existence. 500,000 acres up on the north shore of Lake Tahoe. But it has become something which we sort of think about as perhaps having been there at one time, even though it wasn't.
But I understand you did buy a place. Haven't you a place in Arizona?
I built a place. Yes, I built a home.
The Ponderosa?
I built a big house in Arizona, which I call Ponderosa 2, Roman numerals 2, and it is an exact replica of our Ponderosa set.
Lorne, how does it feel living with that father image? Do you get a lot of letters? I would think that you would. You know, a lot of letters from parents, perhaps, who have problems with their boys, and now Lorne's going to fix it for them.
Well, you know, it's a funny thing. I sometimes get letters from fathers. I don't get too many from parents themselves, except to say nice things about the show. But sometimes I do get a letter from a father saying, "You're making it awfully tough for me." Because the kid says, well, Ben Cartwright didn't punish little Joe for doing that, you know, or something like that. But you do get many problems. I get a lot of letters from girls about 18, 19, 17, and the kind of sad letters, because they all start off by saying, I've always been interested in older men. And you're my ideal, and they go into all the romantic path. And I say they're sad because I have become the object of their affection, if you want to put it that way, whereas their own father should be, you see. And either he's paying no attention to them, or else they have no father, or perhaps they have a father and they can't communicate with him and so forth. And I always try to answer that kind of letter, particularly by saying, you know, that please, if you have a father, get to know him, because obviously you don't. Otherwise, you wouldn't be writing to me this way, you know.
That's fine, Lauren. I think you're doing a real service in that, because I would imagine there'd be a lot of girls with this problem, getting to know their fathers. One final question. I don't think too many people are aware of it, and I wasn't until I happened to run into you across the bridge table, that you are a bridge enthusiast. And you're a good player, Lauren. How much time do you get to play?
Oh, not as much as I would like to. I really like the game very much. To me, it's a great relaxation and a challenge. And,
it's a lot of fun.
It's a great deal of fun. And I have a number of friends who are bridge players, and I love to beat them, you know. And they love to beat me, and they do. But we have a great deal of fun with it. As a matter of fact, I taught my wife to play bridge. I made her learn, and now she beats me. And it's, you know.
How you doing, Joe?
Just fine. How long have you been riding a motorcycle?
Oh, about 3 years ago.
Where'd you learn?
Well, I started learning it in Rome at the Cinecittà studio while I was doing a film over there.
Who taught you?
Well, one of these Italian actors that I was working with on the picture.
Did you ride much in Rome?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we took a trip to Naples one weekend.
On scooters?
On scooters, mm-hmm.
Well, riding in Rome is a lot different from riding here, isn't it?
Oh, it sure is. Of course, there are very few motorcycles here in town.
Mm-hmm. Do you ride much here in California?
Well, I was doing a lot of riding up to about 9 months ago, and then I started doing my nightclub act, and I had to stop, you know.
Who do you ride with? Do you ride with friends or family or what?
Well, I ride with my mom and dad, and
Uh-huh.
today I'm looking forward to riding with you.
And your mom and dad.
I'd like to have you meet my mom and dad, Joe.
Wonderful.
Here they are, Mr. and Mrs. Olander.
Hi, folks.
Joe.
How you doing, Joe?
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
Mrs. Olander, how do you like riding in back?
Oh, fine.
That kind of makes you a backseat driver, doesn't it?
Well, I guess it does.
You have to put all your faith in him.
Well, I'm not worried.
I'd like you to meet a friend of mine and who's coming along as my chaperone, and then we'll get started. Dave Eakins, Mamie Van Doren, Mr. and Mrs. Olander.
Hi, Dave.
Dave's one of the motorcycle champions here on the West Coast. Shall we take off?
Sure thing.
Okay. Hop on, Dave.
Van Doren residence is high up on the hill overlooking Hollywood's famed Sunset Strip. We have to come down before we can head for the beach. Right turn and westward ho. Out in the wilds of Los Angeles. Believe it or not, we're still in the city limits. All for one, one for all. This is the place. We're almost there. Down at the beach in the cool, salt air. Everybody go this way, because the beach is that way. We're looking for sand. A little ride will do us good. That narrow road starts nowhere and ends pretty much the same way. That's fine, because you can do a little serpentine ballet riding without any traffic problems.
Boy, us old folk are kind of tuckered out, but look at the way your dad and mother are going.
You're not kidding.
What?
You guys gonna do the twist tonight?
That's quite a lot of riding, though, isn't it?
Yeah, this was back, I rode from Chicago out to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. This was back in 1930, I believe it was, or 29, about this time of the year. And I left there about 5 o'clock in the morning. It took me all day.
On a cycle?
On my motorcycle. I had a little Harley Davidson.
That's almost 600 miles, isn't it?
Yeah. But one time when I got home that night, my face was red because of the windburn, I'm telling you.
Well, Dave has just come back.
It's red now.
Dave came back only last week from La Paz, Mexico, where he was, what are you doing, an endurance test?
It was an endurance test. It was to establish a cross-country record from Tijuana to La Paz.
How long did it take?
40 hours.
What were you riding?
Honda.
A Honda? Can you, I noticed that they've got a new one that scrambles, goes up hills, too. Can you do any hill climbing?
Oh,
here,
yeah.
Oh, if we can find some place to climb a hill.
Oh, there's one right over there.
Oh, is there? Would you like to go along?
Yeah, I will.
You want to go?
Sure.
You're going to hill climb?
Love to.
Okay, I'm for watching at any time.
Hold you to it.
Okay, here we go. The main thing to remember is that a hill climbing motorcycle is not a rocking chair. Backseat riders, hold on tight. Dave Eakins is an old hand at this sort of thing, but it's always a new experience, like putting your head in a lion's mouth. Good spectator sport, too. Well, you did it, Mamie. It wasn't exactly Mount Everest, but not too bad for a glamour gal.
I must say you surprised me. I didn't think you'd do it.
I'll try anything once. And if I like it well enough, I'll try it again.
We know from your letters that one of the most popular features of Hollywood Backstage is always going on the set and watching them make a motion picture. Well, we've got a motion picture for you right now we want you to take a look at. They're making Who's Minding the Mint.
All I said to this fellow was, lend me $1, will you? So he says, go over to that movie set. They have a whole lot of money over there. So I did. I ran into this bunch of guys who looked kind of familiar. One looked like Joey Bishop, one like Jack Guilford, one like Walter Brennan, and the fourth guy looked like George Washington dressed up like Milton Berle. And there was a fellow at a printing press doing something he shouldn't be doing. I didn't want any of those dollars anyway. All I want's a real $1 bill. Somebody around here must have one little dollar. I found out that they were making a movie called Who's Minding the Mint for Columbia Pictures. And these guys really were Walter Brennan and Jack Guilford. And some of the money around here was fake and some of it was real. My only problem was I didn't know which was which. I hope they knew. To sometime be watching a television show. I wonder how I can get one of those machines. This little beauty is Dorothy Provine, who's the female star of the picture, and it looks like they're putting fingerprint remover on her. It's that kind of a picture, friends. I would have asked her for $1, but it isn't nice to borrow money from ladies. It's embarrassing. I saw two other guys who looked like likely prospects. Jim Hutton, who's another star of the picture, and the guy who's the director, Howard Morris. You know Howie. He's the funny little guy who used to be on television. Well, they couldn't lend me $1, so I went back to George Washington, who was with a publicity guy named Jim Bacon. I thought George might have a lot of bucks because his picture's on the dollar bill. But no soap. I had to wait a few minutes because Dorothy Provine and Jim Hutton were rehearsing a scene, and the director or somebody yelled, quiet on the set. But I knew everybody here was rich, even the cameraman smoking a big cigar. I checked with Mickey Manners and Burl's brother Jack playing a police guard, but no luck there either. This fella's still watching television. He's got a great job. While these three guys go through a routine for the picture, which means it's going to be a very funny movie. This was a fine time to hit Joey up for $1, but he was too busy counting. $1,022,000, $1,023,000. They tried to get him to stop, but he was really in there. $1,024,000, $1,022,000. This guy, I wasn't going to ask for anything. That's a real gun. I found out what the police guy was watching on television. Because they had so much real money floating around, they had TV cameras all over the set to keep an eye on everything that was going on. The only thing is that it was all so good, they sold the TV show to a sponsor, and it's going to be on next season. By the way, I should tell you that in addition to the stars you've already seen, like Dorothy Provine, Walter Brennan, and Jim Hutton, some of the other very important characters in this picture include Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses Grant, and Alexander Hamilton, who's not related to George, and the movie is being photographed in stunning green. And with a cast like that, Joey Bishop is on his best behavior in the true tradition of the Boy Scouts. But if I was an old lady trying to cross the street, I'd forget about it. Hanging around here so long, I found out that the picture's about this guy Jim Hutton, who's trying to separate the U.S. Mint from $7 million. He gets help from guys like Joey Bishop, Jack Guilford, Walter Brennan, and Milton Berle. And a lot of the scenes were done in Washington, D.C., where the real mint is. But now they come back to Hollywood for the interior shots, and they brought some of the real money back with them. I was wondering why they had an armored car waiting outside. Anyway, in the movie, this Jim Hutton burns $50,000 of the government's money by mistake. And the story's about how he's going to replace it, which includes a plan to make it, which is why they had the printing press on the set. Only nobody told Joey Bishop what it is. He thinks it's a clothes presser. Milton Berle walks around with this box filled with money most of the time because it was his own money. And Joey Bishop was really stuck in that machine. And there was word around that he was getting a citation from the Boy Scouts for having the best pressed kerchief. It looked like making this picture was almost as funny as the movie itself. And let me tell you that being here was a terrible temptation for an honest guy like me, but they had guys from the U.S. government here on the set counting the real money. If they lost some of the money by accident, they'd have to go through the whole routine the movie's about, and then make a movie about that, and then it could be very confusing. Nobody figured how to get Joey out of that thing yet. 1,202,000, 1,203,000. Well, they're getting ready to shoot a scene, and sometimes instead of saying action, the director says, roll him. Boy, is Joey in trouble. If you happen to have a $10 bill with Joey Bishop's picture on it, you know where it came from.
Each year, thousands of people come to Hollywood, and a highlight of their trip is a tour through a major motion picture studio. Now, Hollywood Backstage brings a movie studio to you as we present a close-up of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. The gates of the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer studios are a passageway to the entire world, and you never leave its home in Culver City, California. What you're going to see now is just one section of this giant complex. This is the back lot, where the ingenious art directors and technicians have recreated in detail the faraway places of the past and present, and inventively designed the future. Open your eyes and dream of the romantic France of the Three Musketeers, photographed right here. And in this house, Greer Garson lived in the classic Mrs. Miniver. And a short pan of the camera, and we're in the awesome battle area where many of MGM's dramatic war films have been shot. The Big Parade, The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, Battleground, and many television shows which are also photographed here. This backlot area is just a small part of 187 acres and 200 buildings, including 33 huge sound stages, where every conceivable type of movie can be shot. They also have their own river containing over 12 million gallons of water. Mutiny on the Bounty was done there. On this street and in this house, Mickey Rooney spent many years with his family. Remember Andy Hardy? The greatest stars of the movies worked here. Clark Gable, Spencer Tracy, Norma Shearer, Lana Turner, James Stewart, Elizabeth Taylor, and countless others. Through the trees and branches of this jungle swung Tarzan, a gateway to any place and any time at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. How many times have you seen this sign and wanted to go inside? In Hollywood, a private party usually means a gathering of some of the most glamorous stars in show business. Would you really like to go inside? All right, Hollywood Backstage invites you to a private party. This private party was in honor of another of England's talented exports, Michael Caine.
starred in the spy thriller The Ipcress File, and who impressed American audiences and producers enough to win himself a contract with Paramount Pictures. Shirley MacLaine was one of the stars who greeted Michael at this party hosted by Howard Koch, the head of Paramount. Now, this wasn't a Hollywood spectacular. It was just a little get-together, sort of like, remember when there was a new kid on the block? Everybody got to size him up. Well, we're exaggerating a little, but you could say it's sort of like a Hollywood welcome wagon. The celebrities there, the comedy team of Allen and Rossi, Shirley MacLaine, Ann Miller, and Cornell Wilde, to name a few. Yes, the stars were out. They were just as curious to see him as he was curious to see them. There's Hedda Hopper of the famous column, and Hats. And where the young are, that's where you'll find the action. Dancing's the trademark of any Hollywood party. And everyone takes part. Suzanne Pleshette, Barbara Nichols, Henry Mancini, the movie composer, young Lisa Minnelli, Judy Garland's daughter, in town for a nightclub engagement. Michael's date for the evening was Nancy Sinatra. He's right in step. Michael's appeared in many British pictures, but Ipcress File made him an overnight star. And this warm reception welcomed Michael Caine into the young set of a Hollywood scene. You know, I wish I had a nickel for every letter that we've received from you viewers wanting to go out with a celebrity. It's a lot of fun. So we're going to do it the best way we can. We're going to take you on a date with Nancy Sinatra. When she was a little girl, they wrote a song about her, and her famous father sang it. Remember Nancy with a laughing face? Nancy Sinatra's a big girl now, very beautiful, and a big star on records and in motion pictures. Tonight, Hollywood Backstage and you are going to do what a lot of people would love to do. We're going on a date with her. We picked her up at her palatial home in Beverly Hills, and we go directly to the Coconut Grove for the opening night of singer Al Martino. If I don't see her each day, I miss her. Gee, what a thrill each time I kiss her. Believe me, I've got a case on Nancy with a laughing face. Dick Stabile and his orchestra play for dancing for the huge opening night crowd, which includes many celebrities who are Nancy's friends. And before going to her table, she makes the rounds of greetings. She takes the winter and makes it summer. Summer could take some lessons from her. Picture a tomboy in lace. That's Nancy with a laughing face. Nancy says hello to producer Aaron Spelling and heads for her table as the show begins. Al Martino, one of the most successful performers who doesn't resort to rock and roll, a young man with many hits, he sings now at the Grove. I Love You More and More, Painted Tainted Rose, Living a Lie, and Spanish Eyes. Al Martino, a favorite of Hollywood's younger set like Sal Mineo, who, after the show, head for the private party for Al. Our gal Nancy is, of course, popular with the fans, and she obligingly signs autographs as she makes her way to the party, which is in the Ambassador Hotel's Lautrec room. Many celebrities, including British star Richard Harris, will share the after-show festivity and cordiality. David Shine, who owns the hotel, and his beautiful wife, Hillary Rombin, were invited, of course, as were Edgar Bergen and his charming Frances. They left their kids, Charlie and Mortimer, home. It's tradition at these events to serve champagne to the guests, which, in this evening of music, includes songwriter Jimmy McHugh, who likes to think young himself, acts like the other Hollywood youngsters. Richard Harris has made quite a mark in British films and is now in Hollywood to begin a series of American pictures, and he's quickly become one of the town's in crowd, of which Nancy, with the smiling face, is a charter member. Those of you who were fans of big band singers have to remember Helen O'Connell. She was Jimmy Dorsey's gal vocalist, and Helen sang Amapola, Green Eyes, and many other big Dorsey hits. She's still a great singer. John Erickson is another of Hollywood's popular young men making the rounds, greeting friends at this very impressive gathering. It's interesting to note that these opening nights of performers at the Coconut Grove, which is one of the most important nightclubs in the world, brings out not only the big movie stars, but other big singing stars who come to cheer the performer on and share the opening night excitement, which they all go through. There's no competition among them. And when the star of the evening makes his entrance, everyone offers congratulations, as does John Erickson, while the social portion of the evening continues with dancing. And you can almost be sure that one of the songs the orchestra's playing was by Jimmy McHugh, who's composed more than 50 great standard hits. And if you should see a little wooden guy around talking up a storm, he belongs to Edgar Bergen. Al Martino, star of the evening, dances with Nancy, our girl of the evening. And she's now a star in her own right, not merely the daughter of Frank Sinatra. As a dramatic actress, she's appeared in many motion pictures, been on most major television shows, and as a singer, Nancy is one of the most important recording stars in the world. I swear to goodness, you can't resist her. Sorry for you, she has no sister. No one can ever replace Nancy with a laughing face. Many times on Hollywood Backstage, we've told you Hollywood is where the stars are. Well, the stars were in Las Vegas for the opening of Caesar's Palace, one of the real highlight events of any year. Friends, viewers, countrymen, lend me your eyeballs, as though with these fair maidens I would have to beg you. However, it is for an auspicious occasion that we are gathered here this day. These magnificent maidens have come to greet the honorable gentlemen from all over our fair country, who have come on the silver wings of flight to enjoy and to witness a memorable moment that is about to take place in this majestic land known as Las Vegas. And now the time has come for us to leave this place and migrate to the scene of the action, which is, as they say in the modern idiom, down the road a piece. You see, friends, viewers, and countrymen, we have come to honor the opening of Caesar's Palace, and there have come noble gentlemen from all over the world. Dale Robertson of Hollywood, and the Prince of Siam. And what strange manner of man is this Marty Allen? And there are the local citizens represented by Mr. Abe Schiller. And from the high chambers, Governor Grant Sawyer of the state of Nevada, with the beauteous Ann Miller. And they, too, Ed Sullivan. It was indeed a sight to behold, this gathering in the Coliseum-like arena called the Circus Maximus Room. There was the fair and beautiful Maureen O'Hara, with the noble Sullivan. And then came the time of the big shoe. And the scissors were not meant to stab Caesar, but to cut the ribbons marking the opening. The honors done by the Governor Sawyer and the Palace President Nathan Jacobson. What strange manner of person this Marty Allen. And cast your eyes on the lean and hungry Al Hurt. A2 Ed Sullivan. It is indeed, O citizens, a monumental event, and many hands will shake this night. O fair Maureen, how beautiful thou art. And now the question, to eat or not to eat? For it is a lavish dinner being served, the more than 700 invited guests who have come to set their eyes on this luxury of Roman architecture, of Italian marble and Roman statues, and fountains ablaze with color, and all of which cost $25 million. Now the time has come for a really big shoot, and 'tis the master balladeer Andy Williams who regales the citizens with songs and chatter, which is a delight to the masses, which include the noble Andy's wife, Claudine. It is a night of glory, compared only to those special nights enjoyed in that other majestic land called Hollywood, which is over yon mountains. Oh, it is an honorable thing we do this night, a joyous thing, a spectacle that the great Caesar would himself be proud of. And you, friends, viewers, countrymen, did behold this occasion that was the historic premiere of Caesar's Palace. The United States has a new bunny. It's the Playboy Bunny, and this is the opening
of the Playboy Club in Hollywood. Only a chosen few were the guests of the club this evening, like Hugh O'Brien, Wyatt Earp without his badge. This was a star-studded evening. An evening mixed with a lot of surprises because no one was really quite sure what to expect. I don't think Don Murray really knew what was coming up, but he was there, and the television monitors outside the club and spaced around the club told everybody in different corners what was happening in other areas. Milton Berle was on hand for the opening of the club. Stu Whitman. Milton posed prettily with the luscious bunnies. I don't know if this is part of the service to be expected, but if it is, it's a must. It'll be kept. The straightening of the tie. Barbara Rush, she was there. The living doll, Julie Newmar. Didn't look a bit out of place. A stunning attraction to the opening of any club, let alone a Playboy club. Well, now there's the bunny behind the barn. What's so special about that? Nothing really. You can all see the bunnies are lovely, endowed with the physical attributes that make them outstanding. But we learned that there were more things than that. They had to be more than just beautiful. They were put through a rigorous course to qualify them as Playboy bunnies. Keith Hefner, executive in charge of the bunnies, and that's his position. I didn't know this at the time, but that's all he's really responsible for. He's in charge of the Playboy bunnies. And it is not an easy job to select a bunny. Good looks, well, that's an obvious trait, and it should have. But there's much more. The girls must learn a manual. And in that manual, well, to give you an idea, you just don't go up and order a beer or a scotch and water or anything like that. They're all by the numbers. Reminds you sort of the Army, but you've never been in an army like this. There's the manual, and the different kind of keys that have to be recognized, and the different garnishes that go with each drink. Keith tried to explain it to me. I got the general idea. But the girls also must be able to serve in a certain accepted Playboy way. There is the bunny dip, which you'll see demonstrated here. The bunny dip, you must at all times have your back to the table. So the idea is that in case you spill the tray, you don't spill it all over the customers. At least the customers at that table. You may spill it over the customers at the next table, but you don't get them. Now here's the bunny mother, the one in the middle, supervising the young bunny ingenue with the trained bunny on the right giving helpful tips. And she is demonstrating the bunny dip. And you just hope she hits the table. Well, they all do. And there is obviously no problem here because she does a fine job. She doesn't seem too sure, but she does a fine job. You think emptying an ashtray is just routine? Not in your life. Look the way she does it. Back comes the ashtray with just your cigarette. Thus the training of a bunny. Now here they go into the kitchen. And they must pick the glasses for each drink. You don't pour champagne in a beer glass. They must also know how many ice cubes to apply to each drink. And as we said before, the different garnishes, whether you get a maraschino cherry, or you get an onion, or you get anything. This is all in the manual, and the girls must memorize these things, along with the different drinks and the numbers that go with them. The bunny trademark. The flashlight. That's in case of power failure, to be able to tote up a bill. So don't count on the batteries going out in the club. The girls all come with their own little flashlights. Still in the training school, Keith Hefner on the right, the bunny mother on the left, giving some helpful tips to the would-be bunnies. Now we have the fait accompli. This is the bunny who's passed the training in school, and she's
On the job now. The bunny dip, she doesn't look too sure of it, but she does it. Everything's accomplished. And she's on her own. Now, I want you to get a look at the costume, or the suit this young man is wearing. You'll see it here in a minute. I don't know where you get these things, but you almost feel like they'd like to bring him back in style. Isn't that a fancy get-up, huh? Shades of George Washington and Mount Vernon in the Playboy Club. Here are the stars, Julie Newmar and Don Murray. This is Miss World. On the right, you have Dave Mirisch. Incidentally, in that lovely white ermine was Shirley Jones. Saw a moment ago. The girls putting what they learned in school to practice now, but this is for keeps. The ice cubes and the real thing. They must at all times have that air of self-assurance. They may not feel it, but they have to present that air. And they do a good job. Hugh O'Brien has no complaints. Here's an added attraction. The pool table, the guest, and the bunny. Hugh Hefner. This is the man who has put together an empire of Playboy clubs. Editor and publisher of Playboy magazine. After theater arrivals, Anthony Franciosa, Harry Gardino, and there she is again, Shirley Jones, and luscious white ermine. Some of the walls are covered with photomural color transparencies, reproductions of some of the playmates that have graced the Playboy centerfold through the years. On upper floors, there's a variety of rooms. With the main theme, service, service, everywhere. Our bunny has to climb these stairs a dozen times each hour. This is the playroom. And this is the very plush penthouse. Here's something for every man. Cigarette lighter. Held by a bunny. You know, our Hollywood cameras have visited countless openings and parties, but this one looks like it's New Year's Eve every night at Hollywood's Playboy Club. And New Year's Eve there costs $65 a couple. Julie Newmar. I was going to say the excitement continues to build there, but it's looked like it's sort of fading out. But anyway, they're going strong. Extra added attraction, the bunnies dance on the bar.
And so that's the opening of the fabulous Playboy Club in Hollywood. You've been invited to a wedding reception, and it's probably the most unusual affair you've ever seen. Replacing the waltz is the Watusi, and the fruit takes the place of the foxtrot. It's the rock and roll wedding of one of the famed Righteous brothers, and the first dance of the bride and groom is the wildest you've ever watched. Let's go Hollywood backstage for the frantic festivities. The Righteous brothers are among the brightest and the new breed of stars in the world of entertainment. They're the idols of millions of teenagers, and this night is the lavish wedding reception for one of them, Bob Hatfield. The invited guests were the famous luminaries of rock and roll such as Dick Clark and Lloyd Thaxton, disc jockeys and TV personalities. Shows are credited as being the star makers of many of the top new recording performers. The reception was held at the very swank Beverly Hills Hotel, not the usual setting for any rock and roll function, but young artists like the Righteous brothers and guests Nino Tempo and April Stevens sell millions of records, and they can afford to have the very best. The tremendous success of these new stars is not only for the sounds they make, but the attire they wear both on and off the stage. These are the very popular Paul Revere and the Raiders group, the modified dress and hairstyles of their historic namesake. Not only are the stars invited guests, but also the behind-the-scene star makers such as Bob Marcucci, discoverer of Fabian and Frankie Avalon, seated with April Stevens. The expression go-go has been given to almost everything the young generation does. And this is a wedding a go-go. The traditional first dance of the bride and groom is not the waltz of the velvet violins and singing saxophones. Watch. It's the wild Watusi. It's the frantic groove. It's the exciting new way of dancing and living. It's the bass guitar and the throbbing drum making the new beat. The new sound that's now the tempo of the time. Some, like singer Steve Alemo, sit it out. The beautiful young ladies of the modern jet set carried away, expressing themselves, forgetting frustrations. And it's great for slim figures, too. And although the fans of these stars are millions of teenagers, many adults admit to enjoying and participating in this music and these dances. Some of these dancers are professionals from the many television go-go programs, so if you don't dance as well as some of them, don't feel badly. Just move quickly and in as many directions as you can, and you're doing fine. The dress this evening is not the norm for this crowd, and the dresses, even this short one, the gowns, the suits, and the tuxedos are usually replaced by odd original combinations designed to give individual distinction and identity. But compared to other groups like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and the Animals, these Righteous brothers dress and perform in almost traditional fashion, on stage and off. Now, there's very little you can do to a wedding cake, and this beautiful four-tier one returns this reception to a usual and expected form. You might think a dazzling dancer might pop from inside, but not tonight. The wedding couple approached to cut the first piece before serving to the many guests. The marriage of a Righteous brother is big news to their countless fans, and the photographs of this affair will appear in magazines wherever there are young people who enjoy their music and who want to share this evening when Bob Hatfield of the Righteous brothers took a bride a go-go. Well, one thing you have to admit, the new modern generation does things a little bit different.
Bob, we understand you're going to Mexico. Can you tell us the purpose?
Yes, I'm going down to Mexico to participate in the film festival in Acapulco. And I'm really looking forward to it for many reasons. It's my first film festival, and also it's my first trip to Mexico and Mexico City and Acapulco.
Well, people go to film festivals for what reason, actually? Why do they have film festivals?
Well, I think originally they were designed for the give the opportunity for the exhibitor to see films of other countries and get a participation somewhat in other people's product. And then it got involved with starlets trying to find publicity, and I'm sure you've heard about people getting pushed in pools and young girls being exhibited at the festivals, and some of them have, made quite a mark for themselves. But that was, as I said, the original idea was to give the exhibitor the opportunity to see other pictures, which is really what they're designed for. I understand the one in Mexico is comparatively new and supposed to be quite good in that area, and I'm going down mainly to represent two films that I was in Europe. One is The Prisoners of Altona.
Condemned of Altoona?
Yes.
Who are some of the other stars in that?
Maximilian Schell, Sophia Loren, Frederick March, and Francoise Provost.
Can you tell us something about your role in that picture?
Well, it was a very interesting role for me, and I enjoyed the challenge. And I also had the opportunity of being directed by Vittorio De Sica, who is a magnificent director, as you know, and a very good actors director. The character that I play I play the son of Frederick March, who is a tremendous industrialist in Germany, and I had left his family and gone on my own to become an attorney, and I've become quite successful at that. And then he discovers that he's going to die, and he wants me to take over the firm again for him, and you see a kind of a series of capitulations on my part as going back into the firm. It was an interesting part to do, and quite a stretch for me, because I'd never played anything like that before.
Now, this picture was made in Europe?
Yes, we shot the picture in Hamburg, Germany, and finished it in Livorno, in Italy.
Bob, why do actors go to Europe to make pictures?
Well, I think that actors today, if they're in a position, by that I mean that if they're not contractually obligated to different studios, have to go wherever the films are being made. And I happen to be very fortunate, because when I went to Europe, I lived there for 2 years, and I originally went over to do a picture for Daryl Zanuck called The Longest Day. And then afterward, I had a commitment with Columbia to do a film called The War Lover that Steve McQueen and I did in London. And I had then decided to go to Rome and live in Rome, because the picture business at that time seemed to be moving in the direction of Europe, and the parts seemed to be there. And I met Vittorio, and this thing came up with The Prisoners of Altona, which I was very fortunate to be in, because after I had been signed to do the film, Sophia won the Academy Award, and so did Max. And also Abby Mann, who wrote the screenplay. So suddenly I was surrounded with 3 current Academy Award winners, and I think Freddie March has won the Academy Award twice. So I was in pretty good company. That was a lucky break for me as an actor. And then I happened to move into this other picture, The Pink Panther, the one that I mentioned before, that Blake Edwards has directed for Walter Mirisch, and they made that one in Italy, and I was there at the time. So those 4 films kept me in Europe for that period of time. But I think you have to be in a position to move wherever the jobs are. That's the business today. You know, if a part comes up in Japan, I'll get on an airplane and go to Japan to make it, or anywhere. I think that that's the situation that the industry is in right now, and I think that they'll move in that. You move in that direction wherever the parts are.
Bob, you mentioned that Vittorio De Sica directed this last picture.
Yes.
Is there a difference in the way an Italian director, say, goes about his picture as opposed to those in the United States?
Well, no, I wouldn't say so. I think the the actual format, or the construction, or the artistic form of making a picture is pretty much on the same level no matter where you shoot it. Vittorio is a very understanding man. He's had a great deal of experience, and he is able to reach actors very well, at least in my case. And as I said before, he is an actor's director. He has been an actor. He understands the problems. He has a great mind for characterization. He has an overall concept of what he wants in a film, and each one of his pictures are his. They're unique. They're what he sees and what he feels and what he wants to project. And I think that's very important. I feel that sometimes in Italy or wherever it is, or wherever there's any major industry, there's always the director or the actor or the producer who will play it very safe. They'll do the commercial thing, and they won't take the creative direction and move in that way when they can do the standard thing of the standard shots, shoot it, get it in the can, get it out. I think that any good director or anybody who's really, sincerely interested in their work and is creative in any way will take the time and present the effort. And as Vittorio has said, and so many people that I'm sure that you have talked to too, it takes just as much time to make a film that is a bad film as it does to take the time and make the attempts to make a good picture.
We go to London, England for a behind-the-scenes look at the making of the motion picture Vampire Killers, which first introduced Sharon Tate to international filmgoers. Come with us on an expedition. We're joining the Vampire Killers. Actor Bob Phillips and I are now going into this door, and in just a moment we'll be transposed from a sunny London day to bitter cold and eerie Transylvania, the home of the vampire. It's cold in here. We're on the set of the picture, The Vampire Killers, being made at the MGM studios outside of London. And the whole idea comes from the brain of this gentleman named Roman Polanski, who wrote the picture with Gerard Brock and who's directing and acting in it. One of the vampire killers is Terry Downs, who's the former world middleweight boxing champion. If he got a hold of a vampire, he could beat it to death. This crew and cast, which stars Sharon Tate, has returned from many months of location shooting all over Europe, including the snow-covered Alps, and now they're back to shoot the interior and close-up scenes. And there is word that some smart fellow brought back some real vampires with him. Sharon Tate's a pretty little thing who could captivate the heart of any vampire, so I decided it would be safe to stick pretty close to her. This Roman Polanski is a very interesting young man. He's from Poland, where he has directed many motion pictures which have won numerous awards, including an Academy Award nomination for a Best Foreign Film. But he's wanted to make this picture for many years because he thinks killing vampires can be very funny. So this is going to be a comic satire. If you see a vampire, don't be afraid, just laugh. This unique dome-shaped Cinerama Theater and the area surrounding it here in Hollywood were transformed into a World War II battleground as Warner Brothers opened its exciting movie of that period, Battle of the Bulge. Many top stars came out to see the picture and the unusual setting. So let's go Hollywood backstage for that big premiere on the Sunset Boulevard battleground.
All of history's mighty wars have been refought on the screen. And when Hollywood fights them, they're really big. Warner Brothers' Battle of the Bulge probably outdoes them all with Cinerama, color, and stereophonic sound. Hollywood premiere is equal in its grandeur. Of course, there's the glitter, glamour, and allure of attending stars, Bob Conrad, Jody McRae, and Bob Crane. The popcorn stand's closed on premiere nights, so Sue Ann Langdon brings her own. Looks like there's enough there to serve everybody in the theater. There's a guy who's always in one battle or another, Agent 007, Sean Connery. The Battle of the Bulge is being shown here in Hollywood at the uniquely designed Cinerama Theater, which looks like an overgrown golf ball. Adjacent to it on Sunset Boulevard, they've constructed a replica of the battleground of the movie. Barbed wire, tanks, guns, snow, and exploding shells. Looks so real, it's frightening. Connery is a tremendous attraction here tonight, as well he might be. He's just been voted the #1 male star in the world. As James Bond, the super spy, Connery is chased by bad guys and beautiful girls, but tonight only photographers chase him, and they're the only ones he'll allow to shoot him. Another representative of Law and Order, Anne Francis, television's Honey West. That's Jane Powell with her. Pat Boone doesn't chase anybody or fight anyone, but he's a big favorite and popular star anyway. Here's a very familiar television attraction. It's June Lockhart. Being a television private eye may pay well. It certainly buys the finer things of life, like this gown and fur-lined jacket Anne is modeling. That's Aaron Spelling with her. Academy Award-winning character actor Ed Begley in the white. Premieres are a fine opportunity for new faces to be seen. Anne Haywood, a British actress and model with public relations executive Milt Weiss, gets that exposure. A very attractive couple, Diana Lynn Bates, Miss USA, and Troy Donahue. Miss Barbara World is one of only 2 women in this picture, and she's kind of proud of her name amongst this prominent cast. Sean Connery has posed for pictures, signed autographs, and greeted his fans. Now it's time for the movie. Mr. Jack Warner, head of the studios, completed his function as host of the evening, and now the audience is about to see this very distinguished cast recreate the climatic theme of World War II, the Siege of Bastogne. Brought to the screen as the Battle of the Bulge ushered into Hollywood at this Sunset Boulevard battleground. Now, if you're ready, let's go Hollywood Backstage. You're not afraid of ghosts, ghouls, and vampires, are you? Of course you're not. Sonny and Cher, the famous rock and roll team, aren't, and they want you to go with them inside this haunted house. Don't be frightened. Someone out there is shivering. No need to be afraid. Sonny and Cher will watch out for you. Actually, this could be a lot of fun. This gentleman looks familiar. A little pale. And here's the famous star of movies and television. And how is Mr. Frankenstein this evening? If you don't recognize him, he played the romantic lead in many a picture. You're still with us, I hope. Here's a very charming lady. She was part of another famous husband and wife team. Remember him? The king of the vampires, Count Dracula. And what a lovely couple they made. This might be too much for Cher. After all, the darkness is frightening, and these strange creatures, they could scare anybody to death. But be brave. Beyond this long, dark corridor is a big surprise. If we ever make it, I can assure you, I'm not frightened. But not very much. Now, here's a gentleman I think uses the same hairstylist as Sonny and Cher. Must be part of a rock and roll group. Happy Harry and the Wolfmen. We've come to the end of this corridor. And now what is in store for us? People. Now they're alive. That's right. It's Hollywood's unique discotheque where the action is very much alive. It's Ghoul, a go-go. It's the haunted house on the famed Hollywood Boulevard, whose spooky atmosphere adds to the fun of the in-crowd. Flying bats are replaced by a very shapely and provocative Batgirl. With her, I'd like to be Robin. Let's watch the Batgirl. Fly, Batgirl, fly.
That's Smokey, the dragon up above. The Batgirl outfit and dance were created by the club's publicist, Terry Brown. This is a night of relaxing for Sonny and Cher, who are constantly busy, recording, making personal appearances, and starring in motion pictures. This is relaxing? The show's over, and now it's the patrons' time for gyration. Sonny and Cher are singers, but here's something you won't often see. Watch them dance. By the way, I think there are a few barbers picketing outside. One of the main attractions of this team is the clothes they wear. Their dress is distinctively unique and exclusively designed. Here, they look perfectly in place. But I've seen them at very elegant affairs, and they stand out from the crowd. The atmosphere of the haunted house is dark, but it doesn't seem to matter to Cher. Sonny seems to have his mind on something else. He's probably writing another song or designing another suit, but Cher's with it all the way. Haunted houses may never be the same after this one. And if you should ever run into a ghost or a vampire, just ask him to dance. Sonny and Cher are one of the most popular rock and roll teams in the country. Their personal appearances are always sellouts, and their records sell in the millions. You've probably wondered where they make these records, and we'd like to show you that as we go Hollywood backstage for a Sonny and Cher recording session. You're looking at two of the most sensational artists in the world of popular music. Sonny and Cher have sold millions of records since they barged upon the scene, and they've become the idols of teenagers and adults alike. Hollywood Backstage now takes you behind the scenes where very few people go to see how a famous Sonny and Cher record is made. The ingredients are very simple. First, you need Sonny and Cher. That's a big help. Then a guitarist who plays peekaboo, which is not the name of the song, and several other musicians who play very well and very loud. There's an extensive rehearsal period which lasts approximately 7 minutes. Sonny himself writes most of the songs he and Cher record, and the musicians often work with a couple, and they're excellent sight readers. Today, they're recording several songs that will be part of an album called The Wondrous World of Sonny and Cher, the second album they've made together. Cher had made two by herself, which were tremendous hits, but their fans want more albums together. Now they're ready to record. The engineer is set, and they call take one. Sonny, who is himself a good musician, conducts the session, and it's a hard, solid rock beat. Now we're going back to the Old West, partner. Well, Hollywood style, for two big events that are taking place on major studio lots. First of all, let's head for 20th Century Fox for an on-the-set party for the motion picture Stagecoach, the remake, of course. Grab your favorite gal, man, because we're going to a real Western hoedown party with all the fixings. Keenan Wynn, Red Buttons are here to have a rip-roaring time. Keenan, you forgot to shave. And there's Bob Cummings. Let me tell you what's going on. These fellas, Keenan, Red, Bob, and Bing Crosby, are all in a movie called Stagecoach, which is a remake of that old Western classic. And they're having this big party on the set at 20th Century Fox, so the cast can have a little fun, and people from the press like Abe Greenberg can find out what's going on and take some pictures of the stars, which includes Stephanie Powers. Most of the picture, Stagecoach, which made a star out of John Wayne in the original version, was filmed on location near Boulder, Colorado, with this set being one of many used for the interior shots. Now, Bob's very big on the health food kick, but today, even he's letting go and having some of them fine spare ribs with that rich sauce. Italian press correspondent Saverio Lomelico and his wife have one of the rare delicacies from their country, watermelon. This here fella is another of the picture stars. Came direct from Central Casting. Young Mike Connors with actress Sigrid Valdez as a gambler, and Van Heflin as a deputy marshal. Belly up, boys. It gets pretty dry even here in Hollywood. The real star of the picture, you know, is this Stagecoach and the long ride through Indian Territory, and the characters are some of the strangest you'll ever want to meet. Old Keenan here, looking so angelic, kissing his wife, Charlie, is the real nasty villain of the picture. He just tries to kill everybody off. That's all. Now, come on, Keenan. Let's don't have any of that who me attitude. The producer of the picture is Marty Rackett, and the director is Gordon Douglas, talking with Stephanie Powers, who's trying to get that bear to smoke the cigar. We tried to tell her his name wasn't Smokey. Well, the party's going along real fine. Abe Greenberg is chatting with Earl Wilson, who came all the way from New York. And now, everybody grab your partner for a little dozy-do. Couldn't have a Western party without square dancing. Although here in Hollywood, they probably call it the Square Dance Watusi. The first time around for this picture, Thomas Mitchell won an Academy Award in the part played by Bing Crosby. This gent is Norman Rockwell, who's a very famous artist. And he's making his acting debut in the movie. Incidentally, another Hollywood Backstage show has the makings of that ferocious massacre from this movie. That was quite a scene. And the fella with Stephanie is Slim Pickens, who drives the Stagecoach. Well, the food's been et, the bar's been bellied up to, and everyone danced a little, and now the party's just about over. Now, why are they chasing those girls out of the Stagecoach? Getting to be so a fella can't have any fun making movies anymore. Our Hollywood Backstage close-up now is on Trini Lopez while working on The Dirty Dozen. Trini, this is quite a step in your career, making motion pictures now. Do you like it?
Yes, very much. It's very, very interesting, and I'm having a great time doing it.
It's quite a cast. We have spoken of this before, but you do play the guitar in the picture, don't you?
Well, they wrote in one song in the film, and the song is called The Bramble Bush, written by great songwriters, Mac David and Frank Duvall. It's a very cute song, and I do that by myself in the film. And then also I do a song with the rest of the gang, an old war song called Lily Marlene.
Well, I remember that. I don't know if you do, but...
I don't.
I want to back up just for a quick second. How did you really get started in show business and music, and where?
Well, I got started way back in Dallas, Texas, when I was about 14 years old, and I sort of graduated myself to Hollywood. And it was in 1960 that I landed a job at a place called the Little Club in Beverly Hills. And from there I landed a job at PJ's, and from there Don Costa recorded me an album live at PJ's, and everything has happened to me since.
It's incredible. And now motion pictures, you still will be doing nightclub work, right?
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, I'll be. In fact, I'm recording my first Christmas album here in London. Don Costa is flying in from New York, and we'll be doing an album here and some singles. And I will continue to do nightclub appearances and television and so on.
But isn't it a little different now, being a musician, working the nightclub acts, your day is turned around. You work at night.
Yes,
but
yes.
Now you're working in the daytime, and have you made every call?
Oh, well, at first it was kind of rough because I was getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's the time that I was going to bed, you know. So it's altogether different for me now. I have a schedule. I get up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm at the studio with makeup and the whole thing at 9 and 8:30, and we shoot till about 5 o'clock, 5:30. And one thing I love is the evenings are mine. I am having a ball in London.
What do you do at evening?
Well, I have a lot of girlfriends here, and we go out to dinner, beautiful restaurants, and I go to discotheques, and I love to dance. And I'm seeing everything, museums, the whole thing. Having a ball, really.
They've even got discotheques at the museum now?
Well, I meant to say museums and discotheques.
There's so much talk about London being the in-town. Do you find it that way?
Yes, I really do. From the clothes on down.
About the clothes, they're a little unusual, aren't they?
Well, let me tell you one thing that I love, the mini skirts. They call them girls with the skirts real high.
Yes.
You know, men are having a ball, you know, enjoying this. And I don't know what it will do to girls morally or anything, but it's a beautiful sight.
Are you pushing this in the United States?
Well, I think it'll hit there very soon. I really do. I think New York is already catching on. And the mott look, the short hair of the girls, you know. Now the boys have the long hair, and the girls have the short hair.
It'll take getting used to, but thank you so much, Trini. In our country, politicians come and go. But believe me, you have never seen one as glamorous as the one we're going to show you next. The prettiest mayor in the world, the new mayor of Universal City. This is Universal City, California. It's not like any small community, it's an empire. And today, this principality is having its annual inauguration of its government. Actor Guy Stockwell is installed as the honorary president of the Universal City Chamber of Commerce. To view this very impressive ceremony are the honorary mayors of surrounding communities and the real mayor of the city of Los Angeles, Sam York. He'd like to trade budgets while he's out here. Wise Chinese actors like Philip Ahn have come to observe wise, beautiful actors like Jill St. John, because she's about to become the honorary mayor of Universal City after a hard-fought political battle. The honors are being done by His Honor, Sam Yorty, who presents Jill with a set of special license plates. She, in turn, presents the mayor with a director's chair. Next time he goes to the city council's chambers, he can take it with him and shout, "Quiet on the set, lights, camera," and he usually gets a lot of action. Jill St. John is officially the honorary mayor of Universal City, and we challenge any city in the world to come up with anything like that. This kingdom is the home of Universal Pictures and Television, Decca Records, and a few other little things that make it a very nice place at which to be the mayor. A highlight attraction is the Universal City Tour, and two of Hollywood Backstage's smaller crew members are going to take you into the rough and tumble action area, where real live stuntmen are going to show you how they do it in many of the Western movies you see. The famous knife fight. These two have done this famous action thousands of times. The stuntman on the right is called Scar. The one on the left is known as Bleed. There are no rules of etiquette in these fights. If the knife doesn't work, punch him in the mouth. If a knife and a punch don't work, pull out the old whip. This is not a game for little boys. In fact, we don't advise it for big boys. A very familiar cry in this particular area is, "Ma!" Thousands of people see this exhibition every day, and we're showing it to you in case you can't get out to California. If you do, you'll know what to expect. First of all, you have to check your weapons at the door. As you can see, they're really fooling. Some joke. Try this if you want to get a girl to dance with you. They say it's very romantic. At least you're sure to get the girl. Another famous Western action shot. A man shot off the roof. They call this stuntman Crunch. Then the rootin' shootin' gunfight. Once in a while, some smart guy uses real bullets just to be cute. Besides, it keeps everybody on their toes. The ones that survive, that is.
To give these guys their real credit, though, they've appeared in thousands of films doing all the dangerous stunts that the name stars can't do. If a big star gets hurt, that could hold up production, which costs thousands of dollars. So these stuntmen take life and limb and pull tricks like this. Well, that's the way the action goes out here at Universal City. And as dangerous as all this is to the stuntmen, they have one consolation. They can always tell it to City Hall. The mayor is Jill St. John. Oh, Jack, good seeing you again.
Sí, de veras, ¿verdad?
¿Hablas español?
Soy mexicana.
No me digas.
Sí, ¿cómo no?
¿Y hablas también inglés?
Sí.
Ah, qué bueno.
Inglés primero y luego el español.
Vicky, would you care to join us? Jack? Got just a second. Please sit down. Here. Sit down just a second. This is the young lady who has about 12 names. I don't know if you're aware of it, Tony. When somebody told me all your names, I was flabbergasted. Jack, do you know any of them besides Vicky?
I only know Vicky. Vicky Todd.
What were all the names? Say it just once for the record.
Florencia Vicenta de Casillas Martínez Cardona.
Yes, but we all have the same thing. My name is Antonio Rodolfo Victoria Manuel Quinn.
And my name is Benny Kabelski, which would have been great if I had become a fine violinist. Then I would have used the last name only, Kabelski.
Vicky, you're from Los Angeles, aren't you?
Well, I was born in El Paso, Texas, a little town called San Juan, but I was raised here in California.
Raised in Los Angeles.
Right, in
Jack,
Sangerville
we
Valley.
all know where you're from, Waukegan.
Waukegan.
But Tony, where were you born?
Chihuahua, Mexico.
Oh, my grandparents from there.
I'm probably one of your grandparents.
Oh.
Hey, there's a guy from Waukegan going to marry Lucy Bird.
That's right. That's right.
Lucy Bird, I mean. Not Lucy Bird, Lucy Bird.
Will you be going to the wedding?
Huh?
Will you be going to the wedding?
I haven't been invited. I haven't been invited.
Here's a gentleman I'm sure you know.
I'd probably go.
Alan Sherman. Hello, Alan. John Willis is my name, and I'm sure you know who's sitting here.
I sure do.
And I wanted to ask you all about the occasion tonight for this fellow that they're having a dinner. Jack, perhaps, I don't know if I'm right in saying this or not. You know him best of all.
No, I don't think I know him best of all. I think there are a lot of them that know him very, very well. I know him quite well. I know him quite well. Not intimately. When I say intimately, when I'm with them, we're intimate friends. But I don't see people so often. Look how close Bob Hope and I are. Well, you know, I can be in Syracuse and Bob can be in Pakistan. I mean, where are you going to see him? But I love Dean very, very much. Everybody likes him, and I think this is a great tribute to him, and I think it'll probably be the best affair the Friars Club has ever had.
I think the thought just crossed my mind. I can't think of anybody who works any easier than Dean. Alan, perhaps the thought occurred to you, too, about could you see Tony here working like Dean? I can't imagine, because in the parts that we see you on the screen, you're very intense, just the opposite.
How do you feel about that, Alan?
Oh, I think you'd make a beautiful Dean.
That isn't what I asked you. How many times have you wished you could go to a big Hollywood premiere with a famous and beautiful star? Well, you're going to do this very rare and thrilling thing right now, as our date is one of the most exciting women in the world, Zsa Zsa Gabor. We'll join Zsa Zsa at her home, watch her as she prepares, then escort her to the gala first night opening. Let's go to a Hollywood premiere with Zsa Zsa Gabor. Preparing for a night on the town is arduous for any woman, but for gorgeous Zsa Zsa Gabor, this is a special night. And extra care must be taken to highlight her exquisite features. Every tress of her blonde hair is styled by Loretta of Elizabeth Arden, who came especially for this occasion. We're in the private confines of Miss Gabor's boudoir as she readies herself before attending the gala premiere of the motion picture Dr. Zhivago, a major event in Hollywood. Zsa Zsa will be seen by thousands of fans at the theater and on television, as well as other top stars who'll be there. And she must be perfect. Clothes make the woman, and Zsa Zsa does a great deal for her clothes, as seen in this exclusive gown of avocado with crystal trimmings. The plunging backline is a feature, and her personal dresser fixes the final snap. It said that jewels are a girl's best friend, and Zsa Zsa has many friends. a large part of which will be shown this evening. A beautiful woman is distinct by her perfume scent, and tonight Zsa Zsa will be very distinctive. All part of the exciting image that she's created and lives, making her one of the most provocative women in the world. Now, the choice of the coat for the evening. First, this 3/4 chinchilla. How do you like this one, darling? She asks. Do you think it's becoming? Or this full-length mink. Do you think it covers too much of the gown? Decisions, decisions, decisions. A woman does have her problems. What do you think, darling? And from this huge selection of coats comes this lovely mink jacket. This will show the gown and keep her warm, too. Which do you think Zsa Zsa will wear? And which would you choose? You're escorting Zsa Zsa tonight. You be the judge. Well, it's time to leave, and the big decision has been made. The full-length mink. A final check that all looks well. Hair is in place, makeup is perfect, and Zsa Zsa is her usual beautiful self. She's ready to face the world. The chauffeur-driven car is waiting at the door, and Zsa Zsa is joined by her husband, Herb Huttner, and we all leave for the theater in Hollywood. The drive from her home in Beverly Hills is approximately 10 minutes along famed Sunset Boulevard, through the Strip, and up to Hollywood Boulevard, where the premiere is being held. California nights get chilly at times, and a pause for a red light is a cue for a short nip. Just keep the cold weather out, she says. Of course, she drinks to your health, darling. Zsa Zsa is exactly on time for the event, and the heavy traffic and huge crowds cause a slight delay as the red-jacketed parking ushers the car to the entrance. Fans take the opportunity to wave and look at a famous star. She waves back. This premiere was heralded as one of the year's biggest. Zsa Zsa arrives at the theater to the loud cheers of waiting fans and flashing lights of the press photographers. The huge crowds, the array of stars was spectacular. Highlights of any big Hollywood premiere is the television interview. And this night's master of ceremonies was Hollywood columnist Army Archer, who naturally interviews Zsa Zsa Gabor. The hours of preparation now come to fruition as she's seen by millions of television viewers and by the swarming crowds around the theater. After the interview, she and Mr. Huttner will pose for the press photographers. Zsa Zsa's always been a favorite subject of cameras for her beauty, her clothes, and her jewels. It's the duty of glamorous stars to sign a few autographs and personally greet her fans. Dr. Zhivago is based on the internationally acclaimed Russian novel, and the importance of the picture is attested to by the bigness of the opening, attracting stars like Ronald Reagan, Richard Chamberlain, enchanting Polly Bergen with her husband, Agent Freddie Fields. One of the stars of the picture is newcomer Geraldine Chaplin, daughter of the famous comic Charlie Chaplin. The stars keep coming in. Greer Garson and actor Robert Vaughn. Producer Ross Hunter, Elizabeth Scott, and Mrs. Nancy Sinatra Sr. And a particular favorite is dashing Gregory Peck. Tony Martin with Sid Charisse and Kirk Douglas in the misses. The crowds love it, and the stars relish the response and adulation. Director Mervyn LeRoy enters just as the start of the picture's been announced. Our Lady of the Evening, Zsa Zsa Gabor, enters the theater, and through the Hollywood Backstage camera, you accompanied this very exciting and glamorous stars to a gala Hollywood premiere.